Who are the top 10 NBA teams to never win a championship? Now, we know that every great team has always had great players, but just because you have great players, that doesn't guarantee you a championship. So in this journey, I'm going to break down my top 10 teams that never won a championship. Now, we're going to go from 1990 to the 2020 season, and we're going to look at the top 10 all the way down to the best team that never won a title. Let's get into it.
Let's get ready to rumble!
Welcome back to Journey of a Ballaholic, the best talk show for basketball addicts. I'm your host, General Hannibal X. Now, if you're new on this channel, you're going to be getting my passionate and unfiltered opinion on the hottest NBA and college basketball topics. Now, if you're a ballaholic like me, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, but also hit the like button and tap that notification bell so that you can help me with that YouTube algorithm so we can get this message out to as many people who are yearning for the basketball that we're missing with the NBA season being suspended right now. Also, before we get this video started, go into the comment section below. Let me know, who do you rank as the best NBA team from 1990 to the 2020 season that never won an NBA championship? Okay, so coming in at number 10, I'm going to start off with the 2015 Clipper team. Now, this Clipper team won 57 games and made it to the second round against the Houston Rockets. How could we ever forget? That Clipper team had a 3-1 lead on the Rockets. This is that squad that was led by Chris Paul. You had DeAndre Jordan, Blake Griffin, JJ Redick, Jamal Crawford. Like, that team was loaded. Unfortunately, they couldn't get the job done. Now, when that game 7 against the Rockets, CP3 had 26 points and Blake Griffin had 27 points, but it was not enough as James Harden led the Rockets in that 7-game series with 31 points, 7 rebounds, and 8 assists to close out to move on to the conference finals. And now, at number 9, I got the 1994 New York Knicks. Now, this team made it to the finals. Game 7 against the Houston Rockets. You had a marquee matchup with Patrick Ewing versus Hakeem Olajuwon. Now, that Knicks team, they won 57 games, and yes, they made it to the Game 7, but they wound up losing that Game 7 90-84, led by Ewing, John Starks, Harper. You had Oakley, Mason. That was one of the toughest New York teams of all time. But Game 7 came around. Patrick Ewing, he put up 17 and 10, but it wasn't enough as Hakeem led the Houston Rockets to their first championship with a 25-point, 10 rebound, and 7 assist effort to win Game 7 over the Knicks led by Patrick Ewing. Okay, now coming in at number 8, I got the Indiana Pacers of 1998. Now remember, this Pacer team was a 58-win team that went to the Eastern Conference Finals, went to Game 7 against the Bulls. Now keep in mind, that was a 62-win Bulls team, but not many teams had ever taken Michael Jordan's Bulls to Game 7. Reggie Miller and the Pacers were just the second team during the years where the Jordan Bulls were winning championships. They were just the second team of all time to take that Bulls team to a Game 7. Now, unfortunately, in that Game 7, they wound up losing to the Bulls 88-83, but that Pacers team was led by Reggie Miller. You had Mark Jackson, Rick Smits, Dale Davis, and Chris Mullin. In that Game 7, Reggie Miller had 22 points and 4 assists, but he was the only Pacer to score over 13 points in that clutch Game 7. Whereas on the Bulls team, of course, you have Michael Jordan, who put up 28 points, 9 rebounds, he had 8 assists, but then even his co-star, Scottie Pippen, had 17 points and a big 12 rebounds. And of course, their Super 6-man, Tony Kukoc, how could you forget that he had 21 points and 4 rebounds coming off the bench? Now, that Pacer team was very, very underrated. And it has to go down as one of the all-time teams that never won a chip. But unfortunately, they only come in at number 8. Now, coming in at number 7, we've got the 2018 Houston Rockets. Now, this team right here, we got to remember, this was a 65-win Houston Rocket team who was number 1 in the West that year. Coming into that Western Conference Finals against the Golden State Warriors, the team that had just won the championship the year before that, this Houston Rockets team was up 3-2. Don't forget that. 3-2 on the Golden State Warriors before Chris Paul gets hurt. Now, that Game 5 when Chris Paul got hurt was the last game that the Houston Rockets won, as he wound up missing Game 6 and Game 7. And it was that game 7 where Houston wound up shooting 7 for 44 from the three-point line, which, I mean, at the end of the day, you're never going to beat many teams, but let alone the vaunted Golden State Warriors that were led by Kevin Durant and Steph Curry. Now, coming in at number 6, I got the 2000 Portland Trailblazers team. Now, this team right here was one of the best teams that never won a chip. You got to keep in mind, they went up against the Kobe and Shaq Laker team. This was the team that was literally on the brink of stopping one of the greatest dynasties of all time from even getting started. Now keep in mind, that Portland team, that was a young stacked Portland team over there. That team won 59 wins and was going up against a 67-win Laker team. Now, though that Portland team was stacked, and they were led by Rashid, you had Scottie Pippen. After his Bulls days, you had Steve Smith, Damian Stoudemire, Arvydas Sabonis. I mean, they were loaded. And in that game 7 against the vaunted Shaquille O'Neal and Kobe Bryant-led Lakers, Rashid balled out, man. I mean, in that game 7, he had 30 points. Pippen even chipped in with 12 points and 10 rebounds, and Steve Smith chipped in with 18 points. But come on, I mean, how much could you truly expect that team to do against Kobe and Shaq? Kobe actually wound up leading the Lakers in that game 7 as he led them to their first finals together since 1991. It was Kobe who put up 25 points, 11 rebounds, 7 assists, and 4 blocks, while Shaq was held in check to just 18 points and 9 rebounds. But listen, at the end of the day, Kobe and Shaq, that was just too much of a dynamic duo for the Portland Trailblazers. Though they were one of the best teams that never won a championship, they just weren't good enough to get over that Kobe and Shaq hump. Okay, next up is the 1996 Seattle Supersonics. Now this team, a lot of people may actually sleep on, but this was one of the best teams, not just in the NBA, but this is probably one of the best teams all time, specifically one of the best teams that never won a championship. This Seattle team was taking on, to me, arguably the greatest team of all time. This was the 72-win Chicago Bulls team. That team was led by Jordan, Pippen. They even had Dennis Rodman, who wound up leading the league in rebounding that year. And this right here, this finals featured not just one, but the 2 best defenses of all time. Now keep in mind, this Seattle team won 64 games, which, like I said, that's nothing to sneeze at, even though the Bulls were winning 72 games. And they took them to 6 in the NBA Finals. Now, that same year, Gary Payton led the league and was one of the best defensive players of all time. And he's still the only point guard to ever win Defensive Player of the Year. That was the year that he won that. Now, Seattle, they wound up holding Chicago in check, where they held them to 41.6% from the field that entire 6-game series. Ultimately, the Bulls were just too much as they wound up winning in that game 6, 87-75. Gary Payton led the way with 19 points and 7 assists, while big man Shawn Kemp, who was almost like the younger, pre-air version of Zion Williamson, had 18 points and 14 rebounds. Now, it was MJ who just carried the way for the Bulls, as he always did. That game had 22 points, 9 rebounds, 7 assists, while Scottie Pippen put up 17 points, 8 rebounds, and 4 steals. Okay, coming in at number 4, I got the 1995 Orlando Magic. Now that team right there was one of the young, most dominant teams that the game has seen. They won 57 games that year and went on to make the finals. Unfortunately, it ran into the defending champ, the Houston Rockets, who wound up going on to repeat as they swept the Magic 4-0. Now, it was Hakeem picking up his second title over Shaq. Now, that Shaq team, like I said, he had help. He had a young Penny. He had Nick Anderson. I mean, they had Horace Grant. Like, they were loaded. But for that 4-game series, it truly came down to the big 2 gigantic, most dominant players that you have seen during that time, specifically from the big man spot. Shaq put up 28 points, 12.5 rebounds, 6 assists, and 2.5 blocks during that 4-game sweep. But as great as his numbers were, he got outplayed. There was simply no other way to put it. He got outplayed by Hakeem the Dream Olajuwon. Hakeem wound up averaging 32.8 points, 11.5 rebounds, 5.5 assists, while also giving you 2 steals and 2 blocks a game. That was like a collision course, and that 2-year stretch that Hakeem had of beating Patrick Ewing in 94 and then Shaquille O'Neal in 95, that cemented Hakeem as one of the top 5 centers to ever play the game. Okay, now we're down to the top three. Now the top three, coming in at number 3, I gotta go with the 2012 OKC team. Now this team only won 47 wins, but you gotta remember, that was a shortened season, where it was like a lockout season, so they didn't play a full 82-game season. So if you look at the percentages of the wins that they had, it would have been on par of winning 58 games on a normal 82-game season. Now keep in mind, that OKC team, that was a young OKC. Though they had Durant, Russ, Harden, who ultimately became MVPs, they were still young pups at that time, and they ran up against a hungry and a motivated Miami Heat team who had just lost the finals the year before that, who had LeBron, Wade, Bosh, who these guys right here were primed and ready for a championship. Now, OKC, they won the first game, and it looked like they were maybe going to probably take a little momentum, but unfortunately, LeBron and them were just too much. They wound up winning the next 4 games, and for that entire 5-game series, Durant averaged almost 31 points, 6 rebounds, while Russ was balling. I mean, he averaged over 27 points, 6 rebounds, and 6 assists. But unfortunately for them, Harden came up extremely short in the finals, especially compared to how he was playing as a 6-man during the regular season as well as even during the playoffs. I mean, he balled out in the conference finals. But when the finals came around, the lights were just too big for Harden, as he wound up only averaging 12 points on less than 38% shooting from the field. Okay, coming in at number 2, I got the 1997 Utah Jazz. Now keep in mind, that was a 64-win Utah team, and that was the year Karl Malone won one of his MVPs, as he put up like 27 points, 10 rebounds, and 5 assists. Unfortunately for Utah, they ran into the 69-win Chicago Bulls though. That was the Bulls team that had Jordan, Pippen, and Dennis Rodman. They had Kukoc off the bench, Steve Kerr. Like that was a legit Chicago Bulls team. Now, as efficient and as legit as Karl Malone was, specifically during the season and the playoffs, when the NBA Finals came around, he got held in check. Bottom line, he only averaged 23.8 points on just 44% shooting from the field. Now his running mate John Stockton, he led the league in assists for the 9 consecutive seasons before that 1997 season. But he was held in check to just 15 points and 8.8 assists in the NBA Finals. Now this Utah team, as we know, they will go on to back-to-back finals the very next year, but unfortunately they wound up losing to the Bulls again in 6 as Mike hit the shot on Russell that will never be forgotten in NBA history. Now, for my number 1 team since 1990 to this 2020 season, my number 1 squad that never won a championship, I gotta go with the 2002 Sacramento Kings. Now this Sacramento team were loaded. I mean, they were absolutely loaded. Led by Chris Webber, they wound up winning 61 games that year. But unfortunately, they just ran into a better LA Lakers squad. Simple and plain. You gotta remember, that Laker team was coming off of 2 straight championships. They were looking to three-peat, but they had to get past a Sacramento squad that was one of the best teams in the NBA. That year, Sacramento was number 1 in pace. They were number 1 in net rating between offense and defense, and they were just an absolute elite offensive juggernaut. They were led by Chris Webber. That was that team with Mike Bibby and Vlade Divac. They had Pager coming off the bench, Bobby Jackson, Doug Christie. Like, they were loaded. Unfortunately, they just ran into a dynasty squad with the Shaq and Kobe Lakers. That's really what it was. This team was looking to three-peat, and they were not going to be stopped. It came down to that Game 7 where Shaq had 35 points, 13 rebounds, and 4 blocks, while Kobe had 30 points, 10 rebounds, and 7 assists himself. Now, a lot of people I know, they want to go back to Game 6. That's the game that people feel that Sacramento was cheated when they had a 3-2 lead, and the reality was that the Lakers went on to shoot 40 free throws in that Game 6 compared to Sacramento's 25. But let's keep it real. The truth is that Sacramento, they were the better team. But the Lakers, they just had the 2 best players and the best coach, and ultimately, that was enough. But they did exactly what they were supposed to do. They fed Shaq and Kobe religiously. Game 6, Shaq made 13 of 17 free throws. And in Game 7, he wound up making 11 of 15 free throws. Now you gotta keep in mind, that was during the Hack-a-Shaq era. So the reality was, it simply didn't work. When Shaq is shooting 75% on his free throws in Game 6 or 7, these are talking about crucial moments, crucial free throws. That's what you want from one of the best players the game has ever seen. Shaq always said, when it mattered most, I hit my free throws. Listen, 24 out of 32, the last 2 games of the series, you gotta tip your hat to Shaq. Nobody ever mentions, though, how Shaq, as the most dominant player in the game, only shot 1 free throw in crucial Game 5. Now, keep in mind, the series is tied 2-2. You go to Game 5 in LA, and Shaq shoots 1 free throw, where the entire Sacramento starting 5, plus their 6-man, all shot more free throws in that Game 5 than Shaq did. Go back to Game 3, though. Go back to Game 3 of that series, where the entire Laker team only shot 15 free throws, while Sacramento took 35 free throws. Bobby Jackson, now mind you, he was like the 6th or 7th man off the bench. Bobby Jackson shot 8 free throws in just 24 minutes of action compared to Shaq, who only shot 6 free throws in that Game 3 and played 40 minutes of action. So you can sit around and complain about the amount of free throws that the Lakers shot in that Game 6, but if you're gonna complain about free throws in Game 6, you have to complain about Game 3 as well as Game 5, where they literally swallowed their whistle and were not giving Shaq, who was the most dominant player in the game, free throws. Like this, it's unacceptable. So however you want to slice it, Sacramento, who I think, like I say, from a top to bottom roster standpoint, they were the better team. They just didn't have the best player or even the best duo, and they definitely didn't have the best coach, who ultimately, it came down to that. The elite talent of Kobe and Shaq proved to just be too much, which puts Sacramento as the greatest team from 1990 till now that never won an NBA championship. So what do you think about my top 10 list? What team do you think was the best team from 1990 till now that never won a championship? Did I get the list right? Go down to the comment section below and let me know. But also, make sure you take a look at this playlist I got right here for you. I got another video up top that I think you'll love. Until next time, peace.